Howdy, folks. So about a week and a half ago, my Grado Iggy in-ear headphones, which I've had for the last 3.5 years, finally met their eventual demise after the cable basically snapped inside the sleeving. And I made a video on attempting to repair it, which fixed the problem, but ended up killing one of the drivers anyway. So that was the end of that pair of headphones. It would have been a temporary solution anyway, so I really needed to find some other pair of headphones. Now, I have a lot of over-the-ear headphones, and generally finding over-the-ear headphones is not very difficult for me, but I'm very picky about in-ear headphones. And it has to do with basically the frequency response that I'm looking for. I have a particular sound curve that I like, and it's difficult to find headphones that fit that. I got very used to the Iggy's. They weren't a terribly well-manufactured pair of headphones. I mean, they lasted 3.5 years. I didn't have a problem with them. But you read online, a lot of people say they don't sound very good. A lot of people don't like the build quality. A lot of people really didn't like them, but I did. And anyway, they're not manufactured anymore. There is one company that still has stock of them, but they're very, very overpriced. So I decided, well, I shouldn't buy another pair. I should try and find something new. I kind of wanted something new. When you use a product, 3 or 4 times a day for 3.5 years, you kind of get bored of it. So anyway, I looked around. I tried to find a pair of headphones that just sounded like people liked it. I tried to use the descriptions on all sorts of forums and websites and stuff. And a lot of them either I could clearly tell had the wrong type of sound that stuff I wasn't looking for. And there were other headphones that probably would have sounded okay, but they had horrible design choices. I'm looking at you, Bayer Dynamic, with a stupid frickin' cable, adapter and shit. Anyway, so I completely, as a wild card, decided to pick this pair of headphones. These are the Westone UM Pro 10s. There's very little information about these online in terms of like reviews and stuff. That are not biased. So I just bought these. These were about $200. I bought these just completely because, I could, and they looked to be good quality. So my hope was that the sound was what I wanted it to be. So I just want to do a quick review on these. It'll probably not turn out to be quick, but I want to do a review on these before I return them. And I will be ultimately returning these headphones, because I don't like the sound, but that doesn't mean that they're a bad product. And in fact, I think they're actually an excellent pair of headphones. So don't let that discourage you. I encourage you to watch the full video to understand why I'm returning these, and it's not because they're a bad pair of headphones. So anyway, other people have done, this is what the box looks like. These are professional in-ear monitors. They're designed for musicians. So these are designed for people who are on stage performing. And that's what these are marketed as. Now, of course, I'm not a performer. I'm just going to use these to listen to, studio recorded music, which is not what they're designed for. And I think that partially leads to why I don't like the sound that comes out of these. One of the things that they really pushed on these is they designed and built in USA. And they really are high quality. These are some of the highest quality headphones I've ever seen. You open the box, and you probably can't see this, but I'm kind of intrigued as to how much money they spent on the fucking box. Like, I would have rather had a cheaper pair of headphones than spend all the money on what was clearly just box. But it does feel nice. It does make you feel like you've spent your money on a quality product. But of course, the box is the least important part. So enough about that. So in the box, you pretty much get this case. They call it a vault, and it could be waterproof. It's got a gasket in it, and it seals pretty well. I don't think they marketed it as being waterproof, but it's a very nice case. It's got some some molded foam in here. It's not attached by anything. It's just kind of in the bottom. It's just sort of pressure fit. So it's nice to travel with. It's quite big, but I'd rather have it be too big than too small, because trying to cram things in to a small case is really kind of, I think that damages and breaks them more than a larger case. I generally never use cases for headphones because it was always either too time consuming to put them in a case, or the Iggy's didn't come with a case, so I just never bothered. Just sort of rolled it up like this and shoved it in a pocket, and it was usually good. I mean, they lasted 3 years, so obviously it's not too bad. So they come with this. They come with a bunch of tips. They come with what they call comply foam tips, and they also come with just silicone star tips. A lot of different tip sizes, which is quite nice. They also come with a little hook, which is just an earwax cleaning tool, which you're probably eventually going to need, as I've found with the Iggy's. Eventually, if you have a pair of headphones long enough, you're going to need that. But onto the headphones themselves, though. These are exclusively over-the-ear type, and this is my first pair of over-the-ear headphones. And I have to say that I really do like this style. The headphones that I've bought as a replacement to these, which have yet to arrive, they were supposed to arrive before this review, but due to Canada Post being herpaderp, they decided that they would just not deliver them on time for no apparent reason. It literally was on a truck for delivery, and then they were like, nope, sorry, we're not going to deliver it. We're going to take it back to the depot. So, yeah, so that's why they're not, the replacements are not in this video, because I would have liked to do an A-B comparison. I will do a review on the other headphones, which have yet to be named. But they're just regular in-ear. These are over-the-ear. These are quite comfortable. It took me a little bit of getting used to, maybe a day or two, to get used to the over-the-ear design. I do like the way that they basically heat shrunk just the end of the cable, and then they've double heat shrunk the end to try and prevent that from fraying. And it just adds a bit of rigidity to the cable, which is nice. And they're very small. I've seen one other reviewer comment on this. They are very small, and they fit in my ears quite well. Now, I have the largest size of the silicone star tips on here because I have very large ear canals, but the actual driver housing itself is actually quite small. It's difficult to sort of compare. I guess I'll hold it up to the Trs Jack so that you can see just how big it actually is. It's very, very small. And of course, these are removable, so they do have, if I can get this off, they do have connectors on them, so you could replace the cable with a bunch of other cables, either another cable that Westone makes, or a cable from Shure. I believe Shure uses the same connector. I don't exactly know what this coaxial connector is called, but I know there are other IEMs that use it, so you could replace the cable. The reason why I like that, I don't think I'd ever replace the cable, but I think what's nice about having this socket on here is that you can rotate the actual monitor itself without moving the cable, which is really nice for putting them on. That way you can sort of just rotate the cable out, put it in your ear, and then rotate the cable over your ear and stuff. It just helps for insertion and removal, which is nice. The cable is very odd looking. It's it's not really braided. It's just basically twisted plastic. It's very, very slippery, very shiny, very hard actually. But this cable is very strong, and it feels very nice, and it doesn't seem to tangle very easily, which is quite nice. It seems like it would be very, very durable. I don't know what's inside this. I don't know what it's made with, but it seems like a very high quality cable, and the fact that it's kind of hard, it sort of resists bending. And of course, bending is ultimately bending like this is what's ultimately going to kill any cable. So the fact that it's not, not like those super soft silicone leads that just flop everywhere and, they do all sorts of little tiny things. That's what ends up killing them. So the fact that this has a bit of rigidity to it, I wouldn't say it's a hard cable, but it has more rigidity, so it doesn't want to bend. It wants to stay, in whatever configuration it's in. So I think that would probably lead to the longevity of this cable. The Trs Jack is a 90-degree plug like this. It's gold-plated, of course, which looks like quite thick plating compared to some of the cheaper headphones I've seen. I really do like this. It's basically like an over-molded, almost like urethane or something. I don't exactly know my plastics, so I can't tell you what that is, but you can tell it's definitely over-molded, or maybe they pulled this through, but I'd say over-molded. But it's definitely got something rigid. There's probably a rigid insert in here because this doesn't want to bend that much. So, I mean, it does provide some strain relief, but not as much as some headphones. So I might fail right at this point here. I'm not quite sure. But I do like the way that this feels, and once it's inserted, the fact that it's flat on top, I really do like that. The Iggy's were very rounded on the plug, and when it's in your pocket and your hands resting up against this, this really does feel quite nice. It's got a little W for the Westone logo on there, and it does have an actual hard plastic cover over the actual Y split in the cable, and it's got a little not sure what you want to call this. It's just a little plastic thing that rides on the cable, which you can pull closer to your chin to try and retain them if you're jogging or something, moving around a lot. I tend to never use these on any pair of headphones. I've never found them to be useful. So anyway, it's kind of interesting that they've got a little semicircle there that sort of they made in there with. I'm not quite sure why that's there, but anyway, it is. And it's just got a W on one side. You can clearly see markings from where it's been obviously injection molded, and they've ground off the little bits of plastic from the mold. I don't remember what those are called right at this second. So it's not perfect looking, but definitely most people wouldn't care about that. Now these are the UM Pro 10. So these are a single driver, and these are the clear. They come in 3 colors, I think. There's a red and a blue, and there's a clear. The clear was what I got. These are balanced armature drivers. These aren't dynamic drivers. So basically, there's no crossover in here, of course, because these are a single driver, of course. And so basically, you just got the connector, which runs in through these wires into the driver itself, which is basically just a metal can. And then there's, of course, the sound port on this side. And inside the can, there's basically... you can see pictures of this online, but it's basically some magnets and a coil, and basically there's just a pivoted arm that moves up and down. There's a little connecting rod which pulls a diaphragm up and down. So rather than a dynamic driver, which is sort of a coil on a diaphragm that moves with the diaphragm, this is a tilting arm that physically moves a rod which pokes a diaphragm up and down. It's a very different design, and I don't really know all of its advantages and disadvantages, but the frequency response of this is actually not quite great. It's only, I think, 20 hertz to 16 kilohertz. Now, I have quite severe high-frequency hearing loss, so I can't hear anything above 14 kilohertz. So that's why I bought these regardless of the horrible frequency response, because I can't hear that anyway. But just to note, they do not have a extended high frequency response whatsoever. And then of course there is the driving of these. They are balanced armature drivers, and they are, I believe, 16 ohms. I'd have to check. I think they're 16 ohms. They're very, very easy to drive. In fact, they're almost too easy to drive. There's a problem with these. I have, as you may have also seen in the previous video, I took apart a Audio Engine D3 USB DAC, which I had bought. And I plugged these into that DAC. That was one of the things I intended to use them with. And unfortunately, these things make a hissing noise in that DAC. And no other headphones I have, even like 24 ohm headphones, make any sound whatsoever in that same DAC. So it's possible that these are just so incredibly sensitive that they hiss, or it's possible that they oscillate somehow and they accentuate some sort of power supply noise on that DAC, because it is a USB DAC. But I mean, that has I think I got this wrong in the review and I had to correct it in post, but I think it's 109 dB SNR or something. It's really high. So the fact that I can still hear the noise with these is a bad thing, in my opinion, because you would have to have an almost perfect source to drive these and not hear noise. Now, of course, when you're playing music, you don't hear it, but I tend to sometimes, pause music for a bit, wouldn't just leave them in, and that would drive me insane. So that's one of the things I really don't like about these, is just the fact that I think they're too efficient, or they have an oscillation problem. I'm not quite sure. The sound is, of course, the thing that probably everybody wants to know about. And the reason why these are being returned is because of the sound, pretty much exclusively. That and the hissing oscillation problem. Those are the two big problems. I mean, in terms of construction, they are great. I love the quality. I'm happy with that. I love the fit and the feel. That's really good. And I mean, when you're walking, you don't hear any cable noise, of course, because they're over ear. I mean, I have nothing wrong with any of that stuff. The length of the cable is good. The accessories are good. Nothing wrong with that. It's all about the sound. These are designed as musicians' IEMs, and as a result, it's very easy to hear that they have quite a significant bump in the mid-range, in particular at exactly 3 kilohertz. So at 3 kilohertz, I want to say these things are up by at least 3 or 4 dB. That's my guess from my personal listening. They are really, really loud at the mids, and they're basically unusable unless I have an equalizer that can drop the mids down. It's very piercing, and it's that sort of around the 2 to 4 kilohertz range. There's a lot of sort of noise that you get in that range, and there's some vocals there, but there's a lot of instruments, pump frequencies into that band, and it just sounds like noise in the middle of your music. And if you drop that a little bit, you can just hear everything better, and you don't really lose much. And I don't have this problem with any of the other IEMs I've had in the past, including the Iggy's, and none of my over-the-ear headphones have this issue. Just these. So, of course, if you're doing, live music or whatever, it's not studio recorded, it's not refined, and probably you want to bump that area because that's probably what you're listening to. But for recorded music, I don't think they do very good job, unless you're looking for a mid-centric headphone, in which case I think this is probably exactly what you want. Now, the high frequency is also not great. Around 10K to 12K is not great either. They drop off pretty fast, so you may want to EQ up everything beyond 10K pretty much. They drop off real fast. They sound very, very flat at the high end, which you may want, of course. It depends on what sound signature you're looking for. The low end it's there, but it's very, very, very low for an IEM. Of course, these are being in-ear with the seal they've got. They should be able to produce low frequencies with pretty decent amplitude. And these things, there pretty much is no bass. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm not a bass head, and I do not like the big trend towards headphones that just, they pump the bass on to the point where it's absolute insanity. I absolutely hate that. I tried the Sennheiser, I think C302. I think I tried those at one point, and they were horrible. They had far too much bass. It was ridiculous. And these things, they're not fun. They don't have any low end whatsoever. Again, for a musician's in-ear monitor, it's probably okay. But if you're buying these just for general use, it's probably not what you'd want. At least in my opinion, that's not what I want anyway. Soundstage is another thing. I'm kind of like a whore for Soundstage. I want as big and expansive soundstage as possible. And the Iggy's actually had a very good soundstage for in-ear monitors. And I believe the reason why is because of the sound curve that they had. They had a very interesting sharp peak at around 10 kilohertz. And a lot of people didn't like that about the Iggy's, but the reason why that exists is because it sort of tricks your ears into thinking that there's a larger soundstage than there actually is. And that I really liked. I got used to the peak very quickly, and they sounded actually really good. And I've tried to reproduce that with these, with an equalizer. And you can increase the soundstage by tweaking things, but it doesn't make them super expansive. They're definitely better than some of the headphones I've tried in the past, so their soundstage is not bad, but it's not the best I've heard. So I guess take that into consideration. So yeah, I don't know really what else there is to say about these. The quality is good. The price is, I mean, they're a little bit expensive. I bought them on sale and they still cost $200. So it depends on, I mean, what you're willing to spend. And of course, these are just the UM Pro 10s. These are the single driver. They also have, I think, the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, which are, I think, 2, 3, 4, or 5 driver, respectively. So, I mean, they get much more expensive as you go up. So, and I think they all have a very similar sound signature, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, I've never heard the others, so I don't know. But yeah, the quality is good. The design is good. The only thing that I don't like is they have pretty much the exact opposite sound signature than what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something that has very solid bass, not accentuated, but there, like it has presence. There's got to be a little bit of a dip in the mids, and I like to have bright headphones with, you know, an accentuation, you know, around the 12K mark and out. So these are pretty much exactly the opposite of the sound signature that I want. So and it's that reason as to why I'm returning them. So if you're looking for headphones that are mid-centric and very accurate and that kind of stuff, go ahead and get these. I think that would work well for you. Just, I guess, one other thing I should note is the noise isolation. Especially if you are, you know, a live performer, you're using these on stage. The sound isolation is actually quite good. I have a lot of difficulty sealing my left ear because my left ear is a different size than my right ear, and it doesn't really fit any tip. It doesn't fit any tip that comes with these headphones, or pretty much any headphones. But when they do seal properly, they're actually quite good, especially once you know, with the over the ear, you don't hear the cable noise. So they're actually very good. I don't want to. They're very close to the best I think I've ever heard in terms of noise isolation. But then again, I haven't had many pairs of in-ear headphones, you know, in the last 5 years, just because the Iggy's lasted so long. So yeah, I don't have any complaints. I guess that's really what I should say. So anyway, that's my take on these. Good build quality, different sound signature than what I was looking for, but you know, adequate for those that want it. Good accessories, and you know, decent price point, I guess, and of course, you know, nice packaging, all all that wank factor, of course. So anyway, hopefully that was helpful. Thanks for watching.